Sarah earns $340,000 a year. She has a corner office, a wardrobe that costs more than most people's cars, and a vacation home she visits twice a year. On paper, she has everything figured out. But last Tuesday, Sarah transferred money from her savings account to cover her credit card bill. Again, she's done it 4 times this year. Sarah is not unusual. According to a 2025 Goldman Sachs report, 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. 4 out of 10 people making nearly $500,000 a year feel they have no financial cushion. Now ask yourself this: if income doesn't create financial security, what does? That's exactly what we're going to answer today. Most people believe there's a number. A salary where everything gets easier, where the stress disappears, where financial anxiety finally stops. $100,000 sounds like that number, but a PMY NTS study found that 48% of Americans earning $100,000 or more feel they're living paycheck to paycheck. So people move the target. Maybe $200,000 is the number. 36% of people earning over $200,000 report the same thing. The number keeps moving because the number was never the problem. The U.S. personal savings rate stood at just 3.6% in December 2025, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. That means for every $100 of disposable income, Americans are saving $3.60. Not $30, not $15, $3.60. This pattern holds across every income bracket. Higher earners save slightly more in absolute dollars, but their savings rate stays just as low because their spending scales with their income like clockwork. This is not a coincidence. This is a system, and once you understand how the system works, you can stop being trapped inside it. The 1% are not smarter than you. They don't have access to secret investments or exclusive strategies hidden from the rest of us. What they have is a fundamentally different relationship with money. Most people think about money as something to spend after earning. The 1% think about money as something to deploy before spending. That single mindset shift changes everything that follows. Research from The Millionaire Next Door, one of the most comprehensive studies of wealthy Americans ever conducted, found that the typical American millionaire doesn't look wealthy at all. They live in average neighborhoods. They drive modest cars. They shop for deals. They budget. 94% of millionaires still live in middle-class or modest neighborhoods, according to Ramsey Solutions research. 62% of everyday millionaires still budget and avoid extravagant lifestyles even after crossing the $1 million threshold, according to a 2025 Empower study. The people who manage money like the 1% aren't the people you assume. They're the ones you never notice. Here's the mechanism that traps high earners. When income increases, spending increases in direct proportion. Researchers call this lifestyle inflation, but that label makes it sound passive, like something that just happens to you. It doesn't just happen, it gets engineered. A $15 lunch becomes a $25 lunch because you can afford it now. The Honda becomes a BMW because you deserve it. The adequate apartment becomes a house with a guest room nobody ever uses. Each individual upgrade feels reasonable. Each one makes sense in the moment, but the upgrades compound while savings stay flat. And here is the brutal part. Once a luxury becomes routine, downgrading feels like failure. It feels like going backward. The brain doesn't register it as returning to normal, it registers it as losing ground. This is called the hedonic treadmill. Every purchase delivers a temporary spike in satisfaction, then baseline happiness returns. So you need a bigger purchase next time just to feel the same. The 1% understands this trap instinctively, not because they're wired differently, but because they've learned to ask a different question. Instead of asking, "What can I afford?" they ask, "What do I actually want my money to do?" Let's make this concrete. 2 women. Same city, similar careers. The first earns $180,000 a year. She leases a luxury SUV, eats at restaurants 5 nights a week, and just renovated her kitchen for $40,000. She contributes 4% to her retirement account because her employer matches it, and stopping feels wrong. The second earns $130,000 a year. She drives a 5-year-old Toyota she owns outright. She cooks at home most nights, not because she can't afford restaurants, but because she'd rather invest the difference. She contributes 22% of every paycheck to retirement accounts before she touches a single dollar. After 25 years, the first woman has a beautiful home, a closet full of experiences, and approximately $680,000 saved. The second woman has roughly $3.4 million. Same city, dramatically different financial outcomes, not because of income, because of allocation. The gap isn't what they earned, the gap is what they kept. So, how do you actually manage money like the 1%? There are 3 principles that separate wealth builders from high earners who have nothing to show for it. First, pay yourself before you pay anyone else. The most reliable way to save is to make saving automatic and invisible. Transfer a fixed percentage to investment accounts the same day your paycheck arrives, before you see the money, before you make any decisions about spending. Millionaires don't save what's left after spending. They spend what's left after saving. The Millionaire Next Door research found that actual wealth accumulators invest at least 15% of their annual income before covering any other expense. They treat savings like a fixed bill that cannot be negotiated. Second, define enough before you start earning more. This sounds simple. Almost no one does it. Without a defined ceiling on lifestyle spending, every income increase gets absorbed by a lifestyle upgrade. The goalposts move automatically. More income equals more spending equals identical financial margin. Write down what enough looks like for you. What home is sufficient? What car meets your actual needs? What level of comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction rather than social performance? When you define enough in advance, additional income flows directly to wealth rather than lifestyle. The person who defined enough at $80,000 in annual spending and then earned $200,000 builds extraordinary wealth every single year. The person who never defined enough will consume every raise they ever receive. Third, measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. The 1% don't think about wealth as a number. They think about it as freedom. Can you leave a job that's draining you? Can you take 3 months off to handle a family crisis? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? Can you retire before the world tells you that you're allowed to? These choices are only available to people who've built margin between their income and their spending. Every dollar committed to lifestyle is a dollar that cannot buy your freedom when you need it. The math on this is not subtle. Someone earning $300,000 who saves 30% accumulates $90,000 annually before any investment returns. At 7% average returns over 20 years, that becomes roughly $4 million. Someone earning the same $300,000 who saves 5% accumulates $15,000 annually. Same timeline, same returns. That becomes approximately $650,000. The difference is $3.35 million. That is the exact cost of the high-income poverty trap over 2 decades. Both people worked the same career. Both earned the same salary. One managed their money like the 1%. One didn't. The separation isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even discipline in any painful white-knuckle sense. It's simply a set of decisions made early and repeated automatically. Here is what nobody tells you about managing money at the highest level. The 1% aren't optimizing for more. They're optimizing for enough. They've decided in advance what enough looks like, and they've protected that definition against every upgrade the world tries to sell them. Sarah, the woman earning $340,000 who transfers money to cover credit card bills, isn't failing because she doesn't earn enough. She's failing because she never asked what the money was for. The people who manage money like the 1% asked that question early. They answered it honestly, and then they built their entire financial life around that answer, rather than around the approval of people who don't pay their bills. Financial security isn't determined by how much you earn. It's determined by how much of what you earn you deliberately choose to keep.